Hey folks, it's time for Frugal Prepper. So I'm just kind of showing you my little bag that I put together. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette, and because it helps me get lots of more comments on my videos. So I just thought I'd kind of show this to you, what I've got going on here. And see down below for a link to my Amazon store. And yes, I make a little tiny, like 1 or 2% or something off of it. It's like $4 a month or something that I make off my Amazon store. So, but I mostly just put it there because it's a good, convenient place to put different things that I use and like that other people might be interested in, rather than trying to put the links in all the different videos and stuff. I just got these test leads on Amazon, and I liked them so much that I bought a second set of them. Now, I saw some complaints in the comments that the solder joints on these weren't great or whatever. And honestly, I haven't really tried to take them apart to even look. They all work. They all carry a good load. These are supposed to be rated, I think, up to like a 15 amp load. Of course, you can double them up and carry more than that. But you got your different colors. They're nice and well insulated around here, so you're not likely to touch something accidentally and short it out. They got a good, decent alligator clip on them. Not the best I've seen, right? They're not snap-on quality, but they're definitely good enough to grab onto some stuff. They got some, good spring tension to them, so they'll bite in on something a little bit. And the nicest thing about these is they stay super flexible even when it's like super cold. Like, I took these and put them in my freezer over there, my stand-up freezer that's 4 degrees, for an hour, and I pulled them out. They were just as flexible as they are now. So that's really nice, because when it gets cold and you're doing this stuff mobile, your wires don't like to bend anymore. And so I just take, when I'm not using these, hang them around here, tie a little knot in them, and just kind of keep them on here and let them dangle. So, but I'll take them out of the way for right now. But these are great test leads. I want to say they were either $12 or $14. So if you're looking for something better than those little crappy ones that are kind of like this, and you're trying to squeeze them and it keeps turning inside the rubber part and you can't squeeze it, I still keep a set of these on here too, just in case. I need a little something extra. So down here I got a soldering iron. This is actually a brand new one. I've had it for a while, but I never used it. This is a 60 watt. So I got to solder something heavy duty. I can probably get it with this. And I got to get some soldering. Here I don't have any solder in this bag yet. But this is like typically the bag I'm just going to get and carry to what I'm diagnosing. And so I've been doing some mobile diagnosis, just working directly with the customers. But I've had a few shops here lately that I've gone and helped out with a complicated electrical problem. And this is nice because when I get out and I walk all the way into the shop, I have this bag with me. So I try to have a pretty good assortment, not to have to go back to my box in the car to get stuff. So a few basic, a few pieces of heat shrink, some soldering iron, that kind of stuff. Keep a little Phillips Craftsman screwdriver. And honestly, this is for changing the batteries in my stuff. And because I always leave my stuff on and then my 9-volt runs dead. And then I keep this little Harbor Freight cheapie, what is that, 6-way screwdriver thing. I got that with a free coupon. I just throw that in there to have one handy. I've been playing with this thing, and so this thing's actually kind of interesting in that I believe what it's doing, this is the Harbor Freight circuit tester, is it's actually, I think it's measuring, I don't know if it's measuring the voltage drop or if it has a shunt or something in here to measure the current, but when you hit this button, it measures the current going through this fuse, which is kind of neat. I wish it had some fuse adapters on it, but if you don't have a pulsar like Keith, this might get you where you need to go. I don't have it here because I'm kind of updating it and reprinting things, but I'm getting my notebook updated with more stuff. I just keep a notebook with things, like I have a chart so that I can measure the voltage across a fuse, and then take that and cross-reference it with fuse amperage, a fuse type, and how many volts the drop is, or millivolts, and how much amps that fuse is drawing. Joe's Auto Electric is doing a giveaway for an amp pound, so do not go over there and leave a comment on that video, because I want to win and I don't want my chances to be any worse. So but I keep a couple pieces of 16 gauge wire in here, just to have handy. I got my USB cable for my oscilloscope in here. We'll just go on around. I got my tack life meter. If you want a good automotive meter that does a lot of everything, this is an amazing meter. These probes could be more flexible, especially when they're cold, but they're acceptable. So this meter, I think it's less than $40, I think. I think they used to be like 30, and I think they're around 35 now. But this measures DC and AC amperage. So a lot of these clamp meters, like the cheap ones at Harbor Freight, only do AC on the amp clamp. So they're not going to be any good in automotive. This is auto ranging. So this has got 400 amp, 40 amp ranges. It does frequency, so you can measure hertz with it. You won't need that in automotive. I do some AC and appliance repair stuff sometimes too. It's got, continuity tester, capacitance tester, ohms and diode checker, and it's got your voltage, AC/DC here. You can select like if you're on voltage, whether you want AC or DC, the different modes. It has a backlight, so if you're trying to read this underneath the dashboard, you can see it. It does not do any type of like 10 amp current through the leads though. It doesn't have that functionality. It also has a hold button, so if you're doing like you want to see your cranking amperage, you can hit the hold and it'll hold it where its current value was, which is kind of nice. The only thing that this doesn't have that I wish it had on the amp settings was the ability to keep the highest setting, where you can just tell it like whatever the highest setting was, hold it at that value. It doesn't do that. It also has, when you're looking for AC voltage in a wall outlet, this will, you rub this up against the outlet and it'll light up a white light right here, a white LED, and it'll make a like beep 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 sound to let you know that that circuit's live. Which comes in handy for home wiring. It seems well built, it's sturdy. Yeah, I've had no problems with it. I've had it for about a year and a half now, and I've used it a lot. I've used it doing AC work. The capacitor meter in there's great for checking the starting and run caps on AC. I've used it on all kinds of 240 volt stuff. I've just had no problems with it. It works flawlessly for the money. Can't beat it. One thing I will say is if you are trying to do voltage drop measurements across a fuse, might not be the best meter. You might want something with a couple more digits on it. And as far as that goes, this might not be the best meter for voltage drop measurements. Well, that's why I have another meter. It's actually over here. This is actually a clone of a Fluke. This is was the most popular meter on eBay for quite a while. So this has a 9,999 counts. So it's an extremely fast sampling rate. It sees changes very instantaneously. I used to carry an analog meter for this reason, to do like a sweep test on a throttle position sensor. But this meter is fast enough that I don't need to carry the analog anymore. It'll see a dropout real quick if you sweep with a TPS. And so this, other than that, it's a pretty normal meter without an amp clamp. It's true RMS, which is root mean square. And so depending, like if you have a sine wave, the root mean square of that sine wave is 70.7% of the sine wave. This is why like when you get an inverter, it won't be able to put out the same power as it's actually rated for. I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, this is actually a really nice meter. It's got a really nice large display. It does not have a backlight, I don't think. Let me hold this down. It might. Yeah, it does have a backlight, so you can see it under the dashboard. You just hold the range button down. So it does also do the current through the wires, which can come in handy if you're looking for something a little more accurate than the amp clamp. And it comes with this handy little kickstand on the bottom. It flips out. And it comes with this handy Chinese carrying bag. Can't beat that. The probes on this actually stay more flexible than the one on the Tax Life. Dude. See, I got a little picture on the carrying bag. This is probably going to be a long video while I talk about all my tools, so just be prepared. I've been keeping this little Braun light in here as a quick light. This has a hook, a magnet. The magnets could be stronger, but they're strong enough on these bottom two, especially to barely support its weight. It's got a hook, and it's got like a little kickstand, so you can kind of tilt it. But it's not as good as like the other Braun lights as far as the bendy, because it actually kicks back, so if you got something behind it, you can't tilt it. It's got 3 little modes. It's a dimmer mode, but it's not much dimmer. And it's got the little flashlight on the end as well. So just something to have handy while I'm there. Also in this pocket, I keep this so that if I find myself alone and I'm trying to do a compression test or something where I need to turn the motor over, I can go ahead and hit that solenoid directly on the starter most times and kick it over without having to have somebody to come hit the key. It's just, that's cheap from Harbor Freight. You see it when I was doing the filler hose on that van, and I had to drain the gas tank. I used that to activate the fuel pump relay. So, got a roll of electric tape. This is Scotch Super 33. Scotch Super 33 is my favorite because it's cheaper than 88 and it works pretty darn good. I got my little hose here, which I use with my pressure transducer, and my leak down tester, which is not in here. Oh, and the actual pressure transducer lives in here now too. I got my Autel AP200 scan tool that runs on my iPhone. So far I've just got the GM package for it, but you can buy all the additional packages. It's not bidirectional, but it has a lot of features to reset modules, do relearns on things. So it does a lot of service procedures, and it's a nice tool. It really is a nice tool. If you're getting this and you have an Android phone, just beware that there's some pretty high requirements for your Android phone to be able to run this. If you got the cheap Walmart LG phone or whatever, it probably won't run it. You're probably going to want like at least a Samsung S8. I run this on my iPhone 8 and it runs fine on that, and I'm sure it would run on a 6 as well with no problems. However, if you have this on Androids, when you buy additional cars, they're $15. For iPhone users, additional makes or cars are $25, because everything for an iPhone is more expensive. At least Autel got that right. And I have another roll of red, Super 33. Sometimes I just like to have different colors. Maybe I'm just like trying to mark off a couple things or whatever, and I want to keep straight which wire was the control side and which wire was the feed. I keep an extra 9-volt battery in here because I run things down. This is my home-built oscilloscope. I don't have the power adapter. I lost it. It powers off of 9 volts. I got to get another one or just make a 9-volt adapter for it. But it's just a basic little oscilloscope, and it comes in a kit that you can kind of build and put together yourself. And it works pretty well. It actually has a decent sampling rate, and it's enough to get a lot of things done. So if I just need to grab something quick to see, say I'm looking to see, do I have a crank signal? Boom, right there, one channel, I can measure a crank. what I want to do is get one of those little short 9-volt batteries and mount it inside the case somehow. Let's see, we'll turn it on around. Oh, that's the meter I already showed you. These are my fuse adapters, which I actually just got the other day. And I want to make, somewhere in here I have a current loop that I put a fuse on. I thought I did. I can't find it at the moment. Maybe I lost it. But that's my plan. First of all, I gotta get this package open. There, okay. Made in Canada. Nothing works right there. So I just have some Canadian subscribers I like to mess with. And so this, like, you can put some spade terminals on here with a fuse loop. So you plug this in where your fuse goes, you put a big fuse in the fuse loop, and then you can clamp around that loop with your amp meter, your amp clamp, to measure the amperage. And then this is my inductive pickup probe by Handtech. You just put that around your plug wire to get the secondary ignition trace. I do not have one of the paddles or whatever to pick up coil-on plugs, but I usually find if I just take a scope lead, kind of move it around on top of the coil pack, I can usually find it. My other trick, and part of the reason I have this, is I pop the coil pack off, I wrap a little of this around it and sneak that back up, and then put the coil pack back on, and I put my scope lead over this, just over the insulation, and it'll pick up the secondary ignition usually just fine. So I went through everything on this side, so we'll go through the inside of this guy now here. What do I have inside? Well, you guys should be familiar with this if you see my last couple videos. This is my homemade pressure transducer and with a voltage regulator that runs off a 9-volt battery. Let's keep that in there. I keep a little piece of tape over the 9-volt. I'm going to put this in a case with a switch. I've ordered this stuff. It's not come yet. It's from China. Takes a while. And so I keep a few, like I keep a set of channel lock wire cutters, a set of nose pliers for pulling fuses, and I keep a set of these Nipex. These Nipexes are the best thing in the world for taking off side posts of battery terminals. You grab that round part and they're right off of there. Quick and easy. Just have one of the older Harbor Freight test lights with the stiff cord in here. In my car, I keep that one I made with the real long flexible cord with my power probe 4, and that's in my car right now. I do like to use my power probe 4 in conjunction with my test light because it gives me a good ground to have right there, or a good power. It's handy. I keep a couple of the old traditional scope probes in here. These still come in handy because they do 10x attenuation when you just flip the switch at 1x, 10x, and that can come in handy when you need 10x to get the right kind of signal or trace or time division or voltage division you're looking for. But I use those more with my old scope than with my Handtech. Then I got all these little Handtech leads. This is what they give you as some of these crappy alligator clips. And what I would like to do is get some more of those flexible wires, because they sell some just only black and red sets, and maybe make a few sets, like do a green, a yellow, but then put a black with each one for the ground, and then I have match my channels on my scope. But that's for another day. Let's throw that back in there. I've got one of my extensions, male female BNC, to get some extra reach. I have my Handtech oscilloscope. It's a piece of junk. Don't ever buy one. Get a Pico. So I am going to be getting a Pico 2204A. I did some research and some looking around, and there is a way to modify the DLL driver files in the auto software with some of the driver files from the regular Pico software and make the automotive software recognize the 22040. So I'm going to try it and see what happens. You guys get to come along. This is my little back probe kit. Oh, there's my current loop. And see, I got to put the other style connectors on here. So what I was doing was just shoving these little blade things down in the fuse socket, which wasn't ideal. So now I can put the other spade connector thing on there to plug into those fuse adapters. I got a couple of these wire piercing probes here. They work okay. They're not my favorite ones though, but they do work okay. And then I just have a whole assortment of different back probes. This is the SG Tool Aid back probe kit that I saw Keith use on one of his videos a long time ago. And this used to be really affordable. I think it was like 16 bucks, and I went and looked, and it's like up to $35 now. See, Keith started using it. He made it popular. Everybody wanted it, and they're like, hey, Keith uses it. We can raise the price. Thanks, Keith. Alright, so this is my amp clamp. It's in my Tag Life meter bag. This is my C65. This one does that 1 microvolt to 100 milliamps and 1 millivolt to 10 milliamps. Pretty simple. This little button is when you need to calibrate it with your scope, and then that's just a little meter. It goes up to 65 amps. I need to get the big one that does 650. I don't have it yet, and that is one thing that's in my Amazon store that I don't actually have yet. Most everything else in there is stuff I do have, but it's something I really want to buy. It's the 650 amp of this, and this one's like $59, and the 650 one I think is $79. So a whole lot cheaper than the Pico one, and it works. I have this. This was on clearance at the local Ace Hardware for $9.99. So I just have this little socket set in here in case I got to get a bolt off. I do want to get a 5.5 millimeter stick down in here at some point, because for GM coil packs and ignition modules. And then somewhere in one of these pockets, because this set only goes up to a 13, so I have a 14 and a 15 deep Harbor Freight socket in here as well. Maybe get me in a couple other spots. Just anything to keep me from having to run back to the car if I'm not by the car. Here is my old scope, and so in case you're wondering, they do not make these anymore. I have 2 of them, but only 1 set of probes. It literally is a pretty crappy scope. It's crappy in a way in that it doesn't do a lot. What it does do, it does very well, and with very little noise and a decent sampling rate. But these are your probes, and what these were actually designed for was for teaching students in an electronics class how to use an oscilloscope. But they are an actual scope. It has 2 channels and an external trigger. And it looks like the board or something's starting to work its way loose in there. I'm probably going to pop that open and tighten it down. But these are your probes right here. This little hook tools. It runs, it's got software, it's USB, it runs on the computer. This is in some of my older videos. I've used it to make some diex with. It works. I also keep a couple of these in here because if I want to put a different probe on here, I take these little probes, I hook them up to the Handtech probe, and I put one of these in there and put on the probe that I want. This does no digital storage, so what you see is what you have, and so I got around that with screen recording software at one time, but I just made it work. It's only 10 volts max 20 volts peak to peak. So even for 12 volts, you've got to attenuate this. And it doesn't have any understanding of what an attenuator is. So if you attenuate at 10x, you've got to do the math. That's everything there. Let's see. Oh, I've got my Lyle relay kit in here. I work on a lot of GM, so this is the one I've got. You can plug this in and test circuits with the relay plugged in the top. This is by Mac Tools, but it's actually Lyle that makes it. And I didn't buy it from the Mac truck. I got it used on eBay, and mine was missing the green, so I got it super cheap. And then I found a place online to order the green one super cheap. So I think I got like total about 35 bucks invested in that. This is my camera. And this hooks to my laptop. This is not one of the ones that hook to your phone. They make the ones that have the micro USB that go on your phone, your Android phone. This comes with a little kit so that you can put a mirror on it to shine back up. It has the lights built in the end of it, but you can just kind of fish that down in and look at a cylinder, or put the mirror on it and be able to see back up and see the valves. Comes in handy. I bought the one with a real long cord. I should have got the one with the short cord. Shorter anyway. But I just keep that in the box to keep it protected. It's not a tool that I use like extremely often, but when you need to see somewhere that you can't, it's handy to have. I keep this headlight. I found this headlight on clearance at Rural King for $3. And I don't have any connector jumpers made for it. I just keep this little plastic thing that came with it to help keep the pins from bending or whatever. But I just hook on my test leads when I want to use it. And I do want to find this connector on a car at the junkyard and just get it and solder on some nice leads. And then make like maybe a switch on it so that I can activate just like the low beam side or the low and high beam side together for extra load. Or maybe I'll just wire them both up all the time. I don't know. But like if you want to put some real load on something, this is handy. This is also super handy. Like when I've got to test a control, I'm testing a crank circuit on a starter, but I got to walk back to the car and get in it and turn the key. And I can't see the test light. Well, you hook this baby up and shine it at the hood, you'll see something. It's kind of nice. And I don't know what the amperage draw on this is. I really need to measure it and just put a label on it or something. It's nice because, I mean, these are glass. They'll break if you drop them hard enough, but they're pretty sturdy. So, okay, so here is my other back probes. These are power probe back probes, and these actually work really well. I need to just buy another set of these. One thing is they're like, this one's nice and tall. I like that. You can plug banana jacks into them and stuff there. I actually have a coupler in my box in the garage that goes on here so that you can have these are male, you can make it into a female with the coupler. It's got one that does the smaller wires here and one that does the larger wires. I also have these. These are a Fluke clone. Pretty sure I got these in my Amazon store. But these, you just squeeze them open like so. Put your wire in right there. And they work really well. On some real tiny wires though, like when you get into like 18 and 22 gauge, they don't work as well. So I'd say 12, 14 gauge, even 16, these work pretty darn good. And no, I don't have my liquid electric tape in this bag because I'm out of room, but I do keep it in my mobile box. I try not to pierce wires unless I have to, but if I do, I go get my liquid electric tape and I seal them up. I also have these. This you can hook up just the one filament. This is a 2 filament turn signal parking light bulb. And so you can hook up just the one or both of them for more load. And then I have this little guy here too, which is just a little 194 bulb. I just cut these off a car at the junkyard one day. And those are sockets. Is there anything else over here? No. That's pretty much it. I have, the only other thing I got here is I have my little Leatherman tucked in here. Comes in handy for doing wiring stuff. It's got boom scissors. It's got a nice sharp knife. It's got this like file-y thing. But it has a flat tip screwdriver. It has tweezers, and it has this little thing, which is also like it's a kind of it's a small flat tip, or this will fit a Phillips screw perfectly with that profile. So that's a handy little tool to have. I'll use this to slice open like the electric tape on wiring harnesses and stuff. Although I need to get a razor knife, a box cutter to keep it here. That's my favorite tool to use for that. But yep. Alright, that's pretty much it. Now I gotta put everything back. Alright, let me know what you guys think. I always love to hear what you guys do, what you use, what you think I could do better or different, or what I might add. I'm always looking for little inexpensive additions I can make to my kit that will help me make stuff, or ways to combine tools that can have multiple functions so I don't have to carry as much. The key to doing this mobile is, for me right now, to take as little space as possible in my car that I haul my family around in too, and yet have what I'm going to need to actually make the diagnosis when I get there. That's my goal. If I know a job's going to be super complicated, I can bring other tools with me when I go to it. But when I get that call, it's like, hey, my car won't start. I need to run over there. I want to have some stuff with me. So a lot of this stuff, you know, came out of my main box, which I'm fine with, because if it's in my car, I can always go grab it and use it here too, without having to buy 2 sets of everything. Alright, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom, your Frugal Prepper. Everybody, be happy, be frugal. So it's time for some bonus footage at the end. So, I know I'm going to get questions like, why do you have this electric tape and this long piece of rope crap on your Autel AP200? So this is a trick that I learned from Schrodinger's box, from Matt over there. Most car guys on YouTube know him as that cat guy. So what I do when I plug this in and I'm doing my diagnostics is I take this and I tie it around the steering wheel loosely, you know. And that way, if I forget the tool, the customer's going to get in the car and go like, what's this thing tied to my steering wheel, right? It keeps me from leaving this in the car. Especially like the tool, I got this like on a special Amazon deal for $44 or something, but it's normally like 60 something. But if you buy multiple makes and models at $25 a pop, it's tied to the serial number of this device. I'm not sure if you can transfer it to another device on your Autel account or whatever. So I don't want to lose this guy once I got licensing wrapped up in it. So yeah, that's what I got that on there for.